points down there.
What'd she say?
She said the cream came from your mother. Probably because she's a big fat cow.
So she's funny now.
I'm just gonna break the hands of 3 drunk kids.
There's 4 of us here.
One of you's gotta drive to the hospital.
Ooh.
Mike O'Hearn became instantly popular as the typical Giga Chad role model with the "baby don't hurt me" meme. However, if you want a character who actually flexes like one, look no further than Mr. Alan Ritchson's Jack Reacher. On that note, here are the top 25 moments when Jack Reacher flexed too hard.
I said, well, you get to play with your toys in your mansion. My family gets to live in a double wide down by Carson Creek. Now, how's that fair, huh?
It's not.
We're starting off with Reacher making light work of Richard Beck's bullies, but not before he totally violates their leader by calling him ugly and stupid. I'll definitely agree to the stupid part because who in their right minds would want to mess with such a guy? Seriously, the least realistic thing about Reacher is the sheer amount of people that look at Alan Ritchson and think, yeah, I should mess with this dude. They clearly have another thing coming, and our man makes sure Richard never gets bullied again.
Sometimes we gotta play the hand we're dealt.
And who the hell are you?
I'm Richard's friend. So if you're smart, you'll get out of here before I hurt you.
Get yourself a little babysitter now?
You know, Jackie Chan's vibe was he'd always try to avoid trouble, but trouble would find him in one way or another. With Reacher, it's more like he's more than happy to find a bunch of schmucks to thrash.
Oh, next time you see Richard, walk the other way. You're sneaking peeks.
Excuse me? I am not.
With a lot of side glances for a person that doesn't want to get involved with someone they're working with.
You.
Flexing also involves the immaculate skill of rizzing, and it shouldn't come as a surprise that Mr. Reacher has this skill in abundance. While changing clothes in front of Duffy, both characters seem to be in their birthday suits, but Duffy's the one peeking a lot more than she should. Reacher calls her out, especially after the fact that she made a move on him earlier, only to later act as if she shouldn't be doing this.
When you get close, yell for Phil and wave to follow. I'll make sure you get out. They're tracking Angel Doll's laptop. Where is it?
In the car.
When you drive away, throw it out the window. Go.
Either way, she isn't able to control her eyes around Reacher, and I wouldn't blame her for it. Also, I love the part where she asks Reacher how long he's been doing stuff like blowing up boats, and he responds with, every so often. I'm pretty sure that line made her fall for him even more.
Don't get so flustered.
How are you not flustered? How often do you do shit like this?
Every so often. Don't turn around. I can help you. Keep taking out money. That minivan to my left, that yours?
Yes.
Just for clarity, you've been carjacked, right?
Reacher never lets his guard down, and even during a seemingly innocent encounter, he realizes that the woman in front of him is being held hostage by a criminal. Luckily for her, she's run into a flex god, and he calmly instructs her to continue withdrawing the money so that nothing looks suspicious. The thrashing he hands out to the kidnapper by smashing through the car window was epic.
Well, this is gonna go bad for both of you.
But even more impressive was right before when he told the mother that this wasn't going to take long. It indeed didn't take long.
Stay here. This won't take long.
And the walking away while saying he prefers not to get involved was once again absolute Sigma.
Wait! Who are you?
Someone who prefers not getting involved. I'm gonna grab your fist and try to pull it down to the pad while you try to stop me. Just your strength against mine. Easy.
It's not often that you see a bigger guy than Alan Ritchson, but when you do, you know he's an absolute monster. Paulie is played by Oliver Richters, who's also known as the Dutch Giant, standing at around 7 feet and 2 inches tall. Yeah, bro is almost a foot taller than Reacher and super buff as well, so we've got to be realistic when we say that he's definitely bigger and stronger than our hero. However, size doesn't always matter, and this scene allowed Reacher to show us all that his primary skill is his tactical mind, not his muscles.
Richard and I fought.
The Bavarian arm wrestling contest between him and Paulie may have started off with Reacher almost making a fool of himself, but he turns the tables quite quickly when he lets go of Paulie's hand, making him whack himself with the force he was using to counter Reacher. Yes, this is quite literally the depiction of, why are you hitting yourself?
Cut the shit. Truck's ready.
Truck and wait.
There's work to do, and boss wants it done now. Let's go.
Should put some ice on that.
Jesus Christ, Richard! You just don't know when to quit!
Man, imagine if Alan Ritchson and Arnold Schwarzenegger were in their peak eras at the same time. Hollywood would have been such a good place for action lovers, but for now, we'll just focus on how our man pays homage to Arnie by getting to the chopper. It's a crazy flex considering how Reacher doesn't really look at all that flexible, but the real reason why this entry is here because of how bro was able to hold on to an entire stretcher that had Kate strapped to it and still took solid beatings from both Langston and his hitman. That's one tough guy, alright.
Here's the deal. I can use your pal's brass knuckles and smash your skull! Or you can let fall, and I'll be merciful and toss you out after.
And he further sweetens the plot when he gives Langston the line, "Assumptions kill," before actually killing him. Oh, and I just realized that Langston is played by Robert Patrick, aka the T-1000. So there's another Arnold connection for you.
You assume that's the information I need, Langston? But in an investigation, assumptions kill. No!
Speaking of I've never been so jealous of a fork in my life. You like cream? I know where you can get some more.
Reacher shows us a new side to himself when he reveals he can speak French in the latest season, and he almost immediately gains the favour of the Maidenette, although they don't really get to build on that momentum if you've been following the series. Alright, no more spoilers, okay? I'll just focus on how Reacher totally owns McCabe's men by smacking the bald one onto the table and knocking him out instantly. This was right after bro translated Annette's French to him, but even though I'm not fluent in the language, I'm pretty sure he added the part about Baldy's mom being a big fat cow.
What'd she say?
She said the cream came from your mother. Probably because she's a big fat cow.
So she's funny now.
It gave the same energy as that reporter who violated the fat kid who got bullied in school.
What kind of names were these kids calling you at the pool?
Meathead, Fatso, Lard Butt, Wally the Whale.
Porky, Hog, Fat Ass, Double Wide, Butterball, those sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
That's one flex, but the funnier part was when he asked the other one if he wanted dessert. It got even funnier when bro said he's got diabetes. Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing at that line.
You have any thoughts on dessert?
No, man. I got diabetes.
Rachel, what are you doing?
Owner's been leaving him out. Not giving him water.
The hell's going on here?
This your dog, sir?
That was my uncle's. Died a few weeks ago. I didn't want them up, but now I got it.
It? What's his name?
We love an aura farmer who has a soft spot for dogs, and Jack Reacher happens to be one of them. The concern he shows for the poor little doggo being mistreated by that absolute jerk of a man was so warm and touching, especially once you consider the fact that this man can take down a whole gang of brawlers without much effort. Now, this is actually spread over multiple scenes, with the final one being where Reacher knocks out the shameless man with a punch. However, I want to focus on the moment when they first meet, and Reacher totally sends shivers down his spine.
Hey, can I help you?
Nope. Just giving your dog some water.
I must have knocked the bowl over because I gave him water this morning.
Oh, you didn't?
Bowl was bone dry. You calling me a liar?
Usually when someone tries to intimidate you by asking if you're calling them a liar, you try to de-escalate the situation. But not Reacher though. Bro openly told the guy yes, because he was probably looking for an excuse to smack him right then. Yeah, get off my property was pretty much the only defense he had left.
What are you doing?
Dog didn't do anything to anybody. Doesn't deserve this.
Told you to stay off my property!
Seriously?
Let's see how you like it.
This one's special. You need stitches.
No, I don't.
Fun. Super glue it is.
So this isn't the fight itself, but rather the part after it where Roscoe patches up Reacher. First up, bro refuses to get stitches for a wound that would easily put me in the hospital for a week. And then he goes on to tell two cops how he would have easily killed two men in 10 seconds had they not been South American military. Yeah, bro knows him.
You've been here a couple of days and you've already thrown down in Warburton, beaten up some locals, and fought a couple of goons in the parking lot.
They weren't goons. Probably military or ex-military. South American.
How could you know that?
Because if they weren't, I would have killed them within 10 seconds.
What really gets me is how Reacher says this twice, because he wants us all to know just how skilled he is. I also found impressive how he was able to identify his attackers as South American based on the fighting technique one of them used to headbutt him. Man, if I got a headbutt like that, I'd probably forget who I was, let alone being able to identify what kind of special forces use that kind of move.
How'd you know they were South American military?
Spoke Spanish, had Glock 17s, and the technique one guy used to headbutt me was from a martial art called Ricey. Hardly anyone uses except branches of South American Special Forces. Plus, if they weren't, I would have killed him within 10 seconds. No guns, so no noise.
I said you were smart. I'm gonna cut you, gut you, and leave you.
Being in a biker gang may be cool to some, but it will never be as cool as being Jack freaking Reacher. The battle with the biker gang was one of the top moments of season 2, but the reason it doesn't land high on this list is because it's more of a team effort rather than Reacher taking out everyone by himself. I'm obviously not doubting his abilities to do it, but I have to go by what I see, don't I? The flex that I do appreciate though is when he asks the bikers if they were told that they were going to die tonight. It gives off some serious Sigma male vibes, and our man follows up as well.
They also tell you die tonight?
I'll die. That's funny.
Grabbing one of the bikers off his bike and slamming him to the ground was extra badass, and so was breaking the bones of whoever else he fought. Yeah, our boy doesn't just flex for the sake of it, he walks the walk to the T.
I have the means to give you anything you could ask for. What is it that you want?
I want to throw you out of a helicopter. There's a black sedan across the street, couple houses down. Same one as yesterday.
Guess you were right. We're being followed. How you want to play this?
I'm gonna go introduce myself.
Look, when you find yourself in a situation where a cop's in front of you, then you'd normally try to be on your best behavior. However, Reacher seems to have his own unique way of introducing himself, kicking the cop's car, headbutting him, and then knocking him down. Yeah, that's exactly how he gets familiarized with Guy Russo, which was a badass and hilarious moment at the same time. Look, he was right to be suspicious because Guy was following him and his team, but damn, to be able to smack a car so hard that the airbags pop out was some serious flexing.
Look at him butte. What's he think he's gonna do?
Yeah, Guy must have really regretted everything he'd done until that point, because taking Reacher's punches is no cakewalk. I also liked how Reacher agreed with David about it being like the good old days, but added that he does all the work while he remains on the sidelines. It's not like bro was lying either.
Just like the good old days.
Yeah, you on the sidelines while I do all the work.
Fellas, this was his gun.
NYPD? Rich guy in a fancy pickup, put a 50 in each of your pockets to take care of me?
Honored.
Right. Well, this is the wrong day to ask me to humor your...
Hey! We're talking to you, man.
One of the many traits that makes Reacher such a standout in modern entertainment is his long-term vision. He always sees things ahead of the moment or situation he's currently involved in, and it helps him exude tons of aura while he's at it. Now, when he finds himself up against a bunch of fools who genuinely thought they could win because they were 4 in number, yeah, Reacher flexes way too hard when he says that he'll only break the hands of 3 dudes because one of them needed to drive the others to the hospital.
I'm just gonna break the hands of 3 drunk kids.
There's 4 of us here.
One of you's gotta drive to the hospital.
Ooh.
If I ever confronted someone with 3 other guys and he responded with such confidence, then I'd definitely rethink the situation, because I'm not stupid. Can't say the same about these guys though, or at least the 3 of them who got their hands broken within mere moments. I'll at least give credit to the dude who said he knew where the hospital was. Bro realized Reacher predicted the future and didn't want to mess with the timeline.
I know where the hospital is.
Is it over? Almost. There's just one last loose end that needs tying up. I think this is what's called a win-win.
There's no better feeling than having the last laugh and rubbing it rather prominently in your opponent's face. Reacher must be used to this kind of feeling with the amount of time he's managed to outsmart his opponents. In this case, it was a temporary tie-up with Savoy, but our man expected a U-turn from him, so he prepared in advance. And how? Not only does he save his team from an unnecessary encounter with Savoy's hitmen, but he also manages to land $65 million for himself and his team.
You've got the green light.
Well, Reacher's not exactly the kind of guy who likes to live lavishly, but the point remains that he got himself the bag. The best part of this scene is when Reacher talks to Savoy over the phone, letting him know that things were most definitely not going to go his way. Simply hearing his voice was enough to know that Savoy had messed up, and it must have been an extremely satisfying moment for our boy.
The boy's having a bad day.
We had a deal.
Kick on. We'll clean up here. Oh, one more thing. Where's the money?
What money?
Mr. Kasim!
Possibly. Who's asking?
Major Jack Reacher, U.S. Military Police. We've been made aware of your connection to unlawful trade of American military secrets. I'd like to ask you some questions.
Man, if you're gonna hire bodyguards, then at least get good ones. Not the kind you'd find at Walmart. Kasim clearly made that mistake when he chose to go ahead with substandard security while Reacher was looking for him. This is technically shown as a flashback, but that doesn't matter because Alan Richardson is a gigachat across all timelines. Beating down a couple of those guards was easy work, but the real flex came when Reacher asked the remaining guard if a couple of $100 was really worth risking his life over.
Let me guess. Hired help, paid by the hour. Couple $100 a day worth dying over?
Bro could immediately identify the type of employees Kasim had hired and pretty much humiliated him while speaking to his hired help. Yeah, that dude thought he was some kind of badass striking a pose while telling Reacher and Dominique that they aren't going to be able to have a chat with him. Of course, the whole vibe changed the moment most of the guards were tossed aside like spare parts by Reacher. The way he questions the remaining dudes so confidently is what gets me, because it's straight disrespect to Kasim, and I'm totally here for it. I mean, if you're such a hotshot, then why don't you employ resources of higher quality?
Pick these morons up and get lost. Now, about those questions. Is that the going price of an honest cop's life these days? You can try, but that wouldn't be smart.
One of the most memorable traits of Jack Reacher is that he likes to challenge and dare his opponents to see if they can actually best him. Take the scene where he confronts Marsh, for instance. He knows the man is corrupt and led to the demise of his buddy Guy Russo, but he's not going to end it quickly. He's going to make Marsh feel fear first, and then give him false hope that he can actually try to beat him to the gun on his table. We all know how this is going to turn out, don't we? And Reacher probably knows it even better than us, but he still wants to toy with Marsh because he wants his helplessness to linger on. The way he smacks the table against Marsh and then points his gun at him was a pure display of alpha-level dominance.
You just used up your last bit of goodwill.
What I don't get, though, is that Marsh actually went for the gun again, which led to his demise. Like, come on, bro. You've been beaten everywhere. Why'd you still want to risk it? You want to know a fun fact? The actor Al Sapienza actually played Mike Palmis, who was an undercover cop in The Sopranos, and he survived a shooting there. I guess it had to be Reacher who got the job done.
See? Being an honest cop isn't that hard. Just ask Russo. Oh, wait. You can't. If you boys knew what's about to happen to you, you'd leave now. So I'll give you to the count of 3. 1.
It doesn't matter what kind of situation you're in, you should always give the enemy a chance to rethink his life choices before getting into a confrontation with you. Learn from Mr. Reacher, for instance. He knows what's happening as the prisoners come to corner him in the bathroom, but he remains calm as ever and even issues a fair warning before kicking off one of the most brutal beatdowns you'll ever see on television. There was so much realism here that I was wondering if any of those dudes actually got wrecked by Alan Richardson during the filming. The attacks are impressive as ever, and I liked how Reacher started the thrashing after counting to 1 instead of 3. After all, why do you want to give the enemy an extra advantage when they're already outnumbering you? Now, it's not total domination, as Reacher does get a few strikes himself, but none of that slows him down, and he goes on to show why he's a faithful reincarnation of Rorschach.
I'm not locked in here with you.
You're locked in here with me.
Just look at the faces of all those wardens when they see the aftermath of the battle. Yeah, they're surprised that Reacher and Paul were sent to this particular zone, but they're first overwhelmed by what one man was able to do to a whole bunch of dangerous prisoners.
You're not supposed to be drinking in uniform.
We're not drinking. We were drinking. Then you interrupted us.
She doesn't belong here.
As we enter the top 10, I want to remind you that Reacher may come across as this merciless savage who enjoys humiliating his opponents as he beats them, but just as we saw in the previous entry, he also gives them a fair chance to avoid fighting him right at the beginning. The same can be seen here when Reacher stands up for Neagley when that jerk tried to kick her out of the bar for nothing more than simple ego issues. That's all Reacher needs to activate Chad mode, and he kicks things off with some serious sass. Whether it was telling the baldy about his policy or starting the hostility by blatantly claiming he's indeed smarter than him, Reacher doesn't hold back when it comes to defending his team, and that's what adds depth to his character beyond being a sheer Sasquatch with military training. Now, he's not a wild animal, as he does give the jerk a chance to walk away because of a promise he made to his mother.
I'm providing you an opening, because I promised my mother I'd give dumb guys like you a chance to walk away.
We got 12.
Now, we all know how situations like this one generally play out, don't we? But we didn't expect to see Reacher dominate with such ease. The way he says the enemy is 3 people short, despite actually being 3 people more than his squad, was sheer audacity, and he backs it up with the thrashing that follows. Seeing him step out of the window that just got smashed open using a grown, bald man is testament to how well the show portrays this larger-than-life character. Okay, as I mentioned before, this video has been written as per the release of episode 6 from season 3. So don't expect to see more from this installment moving forward, because I personally found it to be the best flex for my hero thus far in the season. After being found out by Julius McCabe, or should I say Quinn, Reacher escapes getting shot in the head by Paulie, but does get tailed by some hitmen. That's when he activates Arnie mode once again and goes full Predator style by covering himself with mud to evade his opponents. The entire sequence is a masterpiece in stealth killing, as Reacher is able to take care of 3 killers with precision and brutality. Target 1 gets his neck snapped, Target 2 gets his neck stabbed, and Target 3, well, that dude gets his neck sliced through in what I consider to be the most horrifying way to go compared to the other hitmen. Reacher is cold and calculated as ever, and what makes this even more impressive is how effortless he makes it look. I mean, bro went from the hunted to the hunter real quick and didn't leave behind any survivors. Even when Paulie saw what happened, you could sense there was some kind of unease in his reaction.
How you folks feel about closing early tonight?
Bobby's a friend, and he don't need anyone asking about his business. Find yourself another bar.
Boxing is a very tough sport, as it needs the fighters to undergo a very serious training regimen. On top of that, there are tons of rules to consider, which leads to restrictions on the fighting style as well. Nobody seems to know that better than Reacher, who says something similar to the dude who thought he could get one over him due to his southpaw status. Keep in mind that the opponent is the same height, or actually even taller than Reacher, based on what's shown in the scene, and his boxing capabilities would have easily placed him as a worthy opponent. However, he forgot he was facing off against an aura farmer who immediately beats him down with moves that would never be allowed in boxing.
You know, the thing about boxing, too many rules.
See, this is the kind of thing that puts Jack Reacher above all the others. He isn't afraid to fight dirty, and he still has the skill set to beat pretty much anyone. I mean, that Baldy never really stood a chance, did he? And the moment he hit the ground, he immediately spilled the beans to our man. Yet, to be able to get such a dangerous fighter to become so submissive in the matter of just a few elbow strikes is truly an S-tier flex.
Where's Spidey?
You left down. There's some Spanish guys, man. Real fast.
Got a runner.
The supposed final battle with the 110th was an epic sequence filled with loads of action and adrenaline, but one particular moment that still cracks me up is when Reacher went after that one soldier who tried to escape by climbing the fence. I mean, the fight was pretty badass by itself, but Reacher needed his own moments to stand out, and he finds one when he runs down the fence before that coward can escape. It was pretty cold and nonchalant, as Reacher's supposed to be, but what even that corrupt soldier may not have expected was the response he got when he started crying about how Reacher broke his leg. Our man simply tells him that he broke the fence, and the soldier broke his leg by falling to the ground. It was a flex for sure, but if I'm being honest, it felt as if Reacher was bullying his target. I mean, it's a little similar to the notion of a bully hitting his victim with their hands and then asking, Why are you hitting yourself? Not that it wasn't undeserved, because it wasn't too long ago that this same soldier was hoping for his buyers to put an end to the show by killing off the main character. Maybe they didn't give him a full script to read, eh?
You broke my leg. I broke the fence. The fall broke your leg. Shut up.
We've seen people use all kinds of items as weapons across a multitude of fights. However, when it comes to a guy as hefty as Jack Reacher, it wouldn't be that easy to believe he would need such weapons. Well, the truth is that he doesn't, but if you end up killing your assassin with a freaking tie, it does get you a lot of favor from your audience, so why not? I think Alan Richardson's true acting prowess could be seen in the way he actually tricked the assassin into thinking he was trying to run away from him, whereas he simply wanted to get rid of him in an area where there weren't too many eyeballs. Somehow this particular scene reminds me of the Jason Bourne fight. If the enemy has a weapon, our man will also grab anything to fight back, which he does first with a bike tire and then his own tie. Our boy ended the battle with a perfect checkmate. Even if Reacher didn't choke the assassin and allowed him to fall, he would have still been ended, and if he tried to hold himself up, he would have met the same fate. See, this is why you should always wear a tie with your formal outfit. You never know when you're going to need to use it to break your assassin's neck. You know what would have been really funny? If someone asked Reacher where he'd been and he replied with, nothing, just hanging around.
Just hanging around.
Reacher, come with me.
No.
Excuse me?
Not until you let these zip ties come off. We both know I didn't kill anybody, and they're uncomfortable.
You remember that scene from Man of Steel where the humans thought they could restrict freaking Superman with a pair of handcuffs? Yeah, there's stupid, then there's idiotic, and then there's that. And it looks like this scene kind of influenced Reacher as well, because he does something similar here, although instead of handcuffs, he's got zip ties and he needs to put in a considerable amount of effort to break free from them. Having said that, it's as close as humans are ever going to get to Superman, and it looks super cool as well. What really sells it though is the way he flexes in front of Finlay and Roscoe before doing so. First up, he blatantly tells no to Finlay when asked to come with him, and then convinces him to take the zip ties off. When he does achieve that, bro simply shows them that he could have done it himself at any given point in time, but chose to wait until Finlay himself was cool with it. Now that's a true Giga Chad if I've ever seen one. I also like that little gag at the end where he asks if the cops recycle. Our man's aura comes with a healthy dose of humor as well.
You guys recycle? By not telling me everything you know, you're protecting the people who killed my friends. I'm not going to waste my time with enhanced interrogation techniques. I'm just going to squeeze the life out of you.
When it comes to interrogating the enemy for information, you need to make sure you're efficient, otherwise you might end up taking too much time, and that too for unsatisfactory results. Not Reacher though, he knows how to play with the psychology of the enemy, and that's why he can get intel from them without much effort. Well, it also helps that he's strong enough to break their necks with one hand, but you also get what I mean. In this scene, Reacher and Guy track down one of the hitmen who attacked them, and it starts off with a hilarious note too, with our boy telling the cop that he drives like he's blind.
You're a fucking menace, you know that?
You drive like you're blind.
Yeah, I really love the banter between these two, but the real winner comes when they catch the perpetrator. As expected, he doesn't talk easily, but instead of going the usual route, Reacher goes with a more straightforward approach, choking him till he speaks or till he dies. What's even more of a flex here is that he tells Guy to look the other way, which he does without any resistance. You can see that Reacher wasn't in the mood to waste time with the standard methods, so he went for the good old choke the bloke. Thank God the guy actually spoke, otherwise bro would have just killed the guy for nothing.
If at any point before you die you feel like fully unburdening yourself, blink.
Reacher is known for being a tactical genius, and despite his massive frame, he's actually quite smooth with his strategy, especially when it comes to combat with enemy forces. Here he teams up with a squad from the 110th and invades an army camp with complete domination. I actually covered the scene where he breaks the fence earlier, but that happens right at the end of this sequence. What's even more impressive is when he seemingly runs out of bullets while attacking one of his opponents and decides, screw it, I'm gonna wreck him with my bare hands. Yeah, Reacher actually throws his rifle away and charges at this poor dude with all his might, lifting him up and slamming him to the ground in a way that will make all the WWE wrestlers question their own existence. Mind you, the guy he takes down is no princess either. The dude is quite close to Alan Richardson in terms of size, so to be violated so easily must have severely affected his general confidence. It's a super flex from Reacher, and he even adds the icing to the cake when he breaks the man's hands as if he's just cracking his knuckles. Jesus Christ, man. Why do people keep challenging this dude? He's got main character energy written all over him.
Clement? No. No.
You weren't in charge.
When Reacher says no, he actually means it. And yes, the same applies to any other situation too. But the difference here is that Reacher will make you dearly regret it himself. This epic display from Season 2 shows our man refusing to get into a stretcher even while his hands are tied and he's surrounded by all of Langston's henchmen. Of course, if we've learned anything from the entries we've seen so far, we'll know that such situations never affect a true Chad, and Reacher proves it again when he takes down all the goons without even breaking free. He uses headbutts, kicks, and whatever he can with his arms to easily defeat everyone, which isn't just impressive, but also near impossible. It was the ultimate flex wherein Reacher proves that he doesn't need to be at full capacity to take down the enemy. Yeah, Langston does come later to ruin the party, but by that time, Reacher already made his point and stood tall as the true alpha wolf amongst the puppies. This man really took the line, "I can beat you all with my hands tied behind my back," literally, and gave us all a display that proved exactly why this is the kind of show that needs to be getting all the eyeballs in the modern era.
Now, there's just one more thing I want from you.
This was the moment that made us all realize just how much of a brute, savage Jack Reacher really is. So it's only fair to keep it as the #1 entry. You know, people were getting really worried about films and TV shows degrading in quality with all the propaganda nonsense creeping into the entertainment industry. And then came along Alan Richardson, who didn't hold back when it came to mocking his enemies and also teaching them a lesson in real time. The way he first violates that bully prisoner verbally was bad enough, but then he decided to give him a taste of physical humiliation as well.
What you want? To give you a choice. See, you're in my house, Fatso, and you didn't ask permission. So you and your friends can leave now, or they can carry your fat in a bucket.
And bro dropped down to the floor faster than the apple dropped onto Isaac Newton's head. Paul may have looked shocked here, but I'm pretty sure in his head he was like, "Best bodyguard ever." All of this happens in a flash, and it was all Reacher needed to make his point, although I think he'd already done that by showing the prisoners how small they were compared to him. Yeah, that dude may have recovered physically from those elbow strikes, but I don't think he'll ever get that picture out of his head for the rest of his life.
2. You owe us a pair of glasses.
Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.